Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. I'm super excited to have my dear friend Ryan Leitter on the show.
Hello.
We're going to talk about his book, Best Selling Options in a Divorce. Wow. Best Selling
Very
Options
handy.
in a Divorce. We have all either been there or know somebody who's been there, had family members, friends, maybe even clients. We all know that it can be taxing and there's lots of emotions and it's raw. And so Ryan has written a book about how you can maneuver through that, or at least some tips on how to do so. Welcome to the show, Ryan. How are you?
Hi, Ted. Nice to be here. I've always wanted to be on the show, so I'm so excited.
I'm honored to have you on the show. You're looking dapper. We're going to talk about a great book, but before we dive into that, tell the audience a little bit about you. They love an origin story. They
Yeah,
know you weren't born and then decided you wanted to write a book on best
right.
selling options in a
I was actually born
divorce.
in this suit.
You were totally born in that suit.
Just
I
for
love
this
it.
moment. So a little bit about me. I am originally from Pittsburgh. I don't know how far back we want to. I can go real far.
Whatever you like.
Okay, so I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I grew up there as about till I was a teenager. We moved to Florida. Just going to fast forward to the fun parts. And then I went to UCF after
Go
high
Knights.
school. I went to Cocoa Beach High School, went to UCF. And then I fell in love with Orlando. I love our city.
Me
It's
too.
beautiful. It's a great place to live. So I decided to put roots here and start my business when I was in college. So I started as a realtor when I was 21. So it's been a fun experience. I'm on year 9. So
You're
about to,
such a baby, and I mean that respectfully, not
oh
disrespectfully.
yeah.
You have a
The
lot of experience for being, let's see if I do the math, 30.
30. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. 9
Why
years.
real estate?
Really, so my family, they were flippers, so it's always kind of been in my wheelhouse. My best friend growing up, I love this story. Her dad owned an exit realty. He was a broker in the town up by Pittsburgh that we lived in. So for like presents, pretty much, I would get to go tour beautiful houses and stuff like that. And they would. I was just always around real estate, so I fell in love with it. I believe that you have to love it to really be successful, because if you don't, you're not going to be
It's a
successful.
lot. I've talked about this on the show before. I feel like the realtor, which
Yeah,
you are the juggler. You're the master puppeteer of the 75 different moving parts.
absolutely.
You have to, like on the lending side, I just have to make sure we get the loan to close. We got to
Yeah,
get all the you have to deal with the lender, the selling agent if it's on the buyer side, or
yep.
the listing agent if you're on the buyer. Like there's so many people you have to balance.
And it's nonstop. It never ends. I
It
I have a
never.
great St. Thomas story of me yelling at an agent on steps who was pretty much boycotting the closing. So I mean, I have all kinds of stories over the past 9 years. But yeah, so I've been doing it 9 years. I went to UCF for real estate actually. I have 2 degrees, one in finance and one in real estate. Most people are like, you can get a degree in real estate.
Listen, when I went to UCF, that was not an option.
It
They
was
had
not.
it at
It's new.
Gainesville, but they did not have it at UCF.
Oh, really? So they had to do it. Nice.
Yes, they had it at Gainesville. So, but I have a finance degree. Nobody would believe it,
Yes.
but it's true. And I can't. I don't. Stacy does the checkbook, but I took a real estate. There was one real estate course we had to take. There was one
Mhm.
insurance course we had to take. This is way
Yeah.
back in the day. And at the time, I thought, why in God's name would I get into that? And lo and behold, later on, I'm circling real estate my entire career.
And it draws you in. And once you're in and you love it, you're never doing anything
It
else.
does. It does. You have a passion for working with people, though, and I think
Yes.
that helps tremendously. Do you have you seen a lot of changes in the last couple of years? I always like to ask a realtor, what changes have you seen, and where do you see the market for the rest of 2023?
So, as you know, the last couple of years has been just a pure roller coaster. It's been fun, totally fun. And, it's calming down now, as everyone knows, but it's still, I mean, where we live, I know I was looking at statistics like Idaho is getting hit pretty hard right now, some of the West Coast, but we're still in the blue. I mean, it's still going up. I have
It's
not
still
seen prices.
going. The
Yeah.
whole Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I just want to encourage people. I love the way you described it. It's calming down. It was
Yes.
insane. It was a fast roller coaster that just kept going up and up and up.
Yes.
And it's, it had to come down at some point. But I feel like it's
Right.
just calmed down. I feel like there's
It's
plenty of
calmed down.
business out there.
Yeah.
It just maybe takes a little longer and maybe a little bit of a different approach. But
Yeah, and I think
um,
a lot of the agents who worked in, like when I started in 2014, you listed a house and you didn't think, oh my gosh, I'm going to sell this tomorrow, no matter what I do. I could take a picture of the toilet seat up with an iPhone 2, and people will be harassing you. Like you will get 800 phone calls, and you can't even, like, my voicemail would fill up in a day. And I try to answer the phone as much as possible, but so I had a listing, Ted. It had ended up getting, I think it was 65 offers or something, unmanageable. I mean, totally unmanageable.
yeah,
So, and at a certain point, I mean, that kind of hurts you, because it's like after you get a good offer, what is better? What is better
right.
than that? So, and
Well,
how do you
because
pick?
then it adds, there's so many extra layers. Then you begin to go, gosh, I wonder if I need to wait longer for a better offer for my client.
Right.
Like
Yep.
it was a lot. It was overwhelming, I feel
Yeah.
like.
And
During that.
I think then the appraisals were, a big issue for us. So
Yeah,
there's always an issue. It's never just going to be easy, but that's why
that's
we're
true.
here, to run
That's
around like
true.
a chicken with our head cut off.
We have constantly, right? So tell me about why did you write a book on divorce? Let's talk first kind of the
Yeah.
process there. Because
So
that is, we were talking before we went live, that's such an interesting dynamic when you're dealing with any kind of business transaction, especially when it
absolutely.
has to do with a home.
Yeah. So to touch on something that you said, helping people is number one. I think the more people that I help, the better I do my job, the more my business is going to grow, and I enjoy it. So that's like a twofer. You get both of those,
Yes.
because they're going to tell their friends, their family, and they're going to refer me. But my parents I come from a divorced household, and I just remember the struggle my parents had with the house, because it wasn't like one of those pretty divorces either. This was like down and dirty, and they couldn't even like live in the same state. So this was, this kind of goes into, I can help other people from my experiences. I can guide them and just get the best. Essentially, people just want the most for their house, and that's what we can
They
get.
do.
Yeah.
But why the book, though? It's one thing to want to help because you have experience.
Yeah.
It's another thing to take on the task of writing a book.
Oh, okay. I see your question now. Okay. I think that I think it's number one. I think it's great marketing. I think the best way for me to tell people, because I can tell people all day long that I'm a great realtor, but this I can show them.
Okay.
I have
Oh
this
yeah,
guy.
hold it up. I'll put it.
Yes.
I'll put you front and center. Let's take a look.
Yeah. So it's
I love
best-selling
that.
options in a divorce.
It's
And it
beautiful.
has my info on the back.
Love it.
It's not a huge book, so it's manageable. You don't have to sit there and read for a month. Easy one-day read. But definitely, it goes over, just to touch on a couple of the
Yeah,
topics.
please do, because I think that's a lot of people struggle. It's not, and
Yeah,
realtors struggle. I was telling you earlier that lenders struggle. It can be a
yeah,
very big deal because you're dealing with so many raw emotions.
exactly. And I've had quite a few transactions. It's not abnormal to have a divorced couple as a client. So to touch, there's several reasons why I have the book, but I think one of my big ones is so I can show someone that I have the knowledge to help them, succeed in the real estate transaction, but also it helps manage the client expectations. So this helps, it goes down into, you have to understand what is going to be sold with the home when you sell. Don't decide when you're under contract that's going to tank a deal, or end up in a
Oh yeah.
lawsuit, because when you start changing things and deciding, oh, I'm not going to do this to get back at the others, the spouse that you're mad at or something like that, that could end up hurting you, because you could really upset a buyer and end up in a nasty lawsuit.
It's true.
Um,
I've had them where uh, you have to be very careful. You still have to be diplomatic, no matter how undiplomatic, non-diplomatic your clients are, because there's a chance that they could get back together.
oh
And
yes.
I've had that happen, and
Oh
thankfully I
yeah.
was old enough and wise enough not to pick a side.
Right.
You can be an active listener without
Yep.
going overboard and getting on that engine of how much they hate the other person, because I have had it happen where they get back together.
And then, yeah, and you don't want to be the one like, oh, sorry.
You are gone. Trust me,
That's
it's all
awkward.
in their minds, and it's just not a good place to be. So being an active listener, in my experience, is just so important. Sometimes they
100%.
just want you to be the therapist. They want you to be the person, the one person who isn't necessarily touched by all of the stuff that's going on, to listen.
Yeah, 100%. And there, like you said, there's a lot of raw emotion. And we were talking before we went live that I was telling you about my husband's parents' house, their experience. They bought it from a divorced couple, and on closing day, they're walking in, and the wife's walking out with kitchen or bathroom sinks.
That's
And I mean, they
crazy.
were planning on renovating the house anyways, but that could really. I mean, I think that's theft at that point.
That is 100% theft.
Like
But
breaking and entering theft. I mean, there.
yeah, there's so many things wrong with that. But that's how high the emotions run
Exactly.
in a divorce, and especially if it was originally their dream home, they raised their kids in
Yeah,
it, now they're having to sell it in order for the divorce to proceed. There isn't it's never an easy, well, rarely an easy
really, yeah.
task. What's the number one, can you give us one of the selling tips, one of the tips that you run into the most, of things that people, maybe people, realtors who are watching, or
Yeah.
anybody who's involved in that transaction, can do?
So I think a big helper in this is bringing in a third party, a mediator. I think if you can have someone find out what their plan is, remove the emotion, and hold them accountable, that you're winning right there. Because
Great.
even for a couple with a very successful relationship, it can be difficult selling a house. Making those decisions. Am I going to accept this offer? What are we going to list at? What's going to be included with the house? Those are a lot of team making decisions, and when the team isn't doing so great, you might have to have someone come in and referee.
Yeah, we've been working on one for a while where they're not quite divorced yet, but the
Mhm.
one partner has another partner.
Oh, okay, yes.
And that dynamic, the new partner wants to pick the
Ugh,
new house, but the old house has to be sold,
contingency.
and it's so raw. And I think kudos to all the parties involved with just being as calm, not the three of them, but the other parties involved,
Everyone else
for
around
being,
them.
yeah, who are the people around them, for being calm, because it is a tough thing, no
Yes.
matter where you're at in that transaction, until it's completed, and even afterward, there's a lot of emotion going on. So
100%. And everything stems from that. Everything in the real estate transaction. I mean, down to maintenance of the house, just to keeping it on the market. Someone says, I'm not paying the electric bill. If they've moved out, it's like, well, someone's got to do something here.
true. It's very true. So
Yeah.
let me ask you about the book writing itself. Was it
Yeah.
difficult? Did you have help? We talked a little bit about
Yes.
this, right?
So I definitely had help. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not an author by any means. But I did have say in what goes into the book. I was able to pick from different things. So this does have kind of my touch on it. But I definitely did have help. Yeah. So which makes it an even better book, because like I said, I'm not an author. So I paid an author to help make it a better book.
Well, so a lot of times it's the idea, right? So you've got the idea, and I love the
Right.
concept of this, and that's why I wanted to talk about it a little bit,
Yeah.
because so many people have an idea, but they don't know how to flesh it out, or maybe they don't have time to flesh it out. So
Right.
it's a very popular way of getting books out, and as long as you're part of the process and it's your idea and you're comfortable with it, I think it's amazing, because
Oh,
the
absolutely.
information
Yeah.
needs to be shared,
Yeah.
and the information will impact people. And so
Yep.
I love it. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I think I took down the name of that place. I have a lot of ideas I want to get out there. So
Oh, so
uh,
many things you could do. There's so many.
before we wrap up, I've got two questions. The first one is, what do you see the rest of 2023 being,
Yeah.
as far as the real estate market?
So the Fed has stated several times that they want to increase the rates, but again, there's a lot of fear out there. And I think removing the fear and putting facts in place really will help people understand what's going to happen with the market. The Fed will increase to reduce inflation. That's just a fact. But it doesn't mean that the markets are going to crash. Like everyone wants to relate everything to 2008,
I know.
So I do not foresee that happening. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball. If they tell you that it's going to happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, they're wrong on either side. But I do feel that we will coast through the rest of the year, kind of where we're at now. Like homes will still consistently sell.
Yes.
Not really, I'm not seeing in the Orlando market below asking or, below what the similar comps were.
Correct.
I definitely see a small growth, but not like we did a couple of years ago where it's like, oh, just name your price.
Hey, write it. Tell me how much. I want that house. Yeah, it was.
So honestly, I just feel like it's going to go back to a normal market like we had in 2018.
Yeah, I feel like there's some normalcy, some calming, like you said. And so I just encourage anybody who listens to whatever news you listen to just kind of do your own research, look at the numbers, look at the stats, go to ORA or NAR, which is the National Association of Real Estate.
They have great statistics.
Realtors. I mean, just take a look.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid.
It very easy to read. They use infographics. It's very handy.
So last question that you don't know about, but don't worry, it's not bad. Don't get nervous. I like to ask everyone this because I always love the answer. So when I say the word hero to you, Ryan, who's the first person who comes to mind?
Superman.
Superman. I've never had that answer, so tell me why.
I
love it.
I don't know. It's just it's a tick, but also it's just like
not a tick.
Man, hero. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
But I obviously think of police officers and first responders.
I love that.
Definitely.
I love that. That's awesome. See? All right, Ryan, tell them the best way they can reach you, how they can find your book. We will put the link to the book in the comments below. I do have ryansellsorlando.com scrolling across the bottom, but how would you like them to reach you?
Yes, you can reach me on my cell phone, 321-684-9699. I'm always reachable by phone or text.
What a joy. Y'all go out and get the book. And if you are in the divorce world, whether you're an attorney or someone surrounding it or going through it, reach out to Ryan Leitter. My friend, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show. Always a joy to spend time with you.
Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Have a good one, everybody. Reach out to Ryan. He's an amazing real estate professional and now an author. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.